Доброго дня, з ким
Good afternoon, dear friends. We continue our work in the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. And during this briefing, we will discuss a series of workshops, Contemporary Toolkit for Media Professionals. And we have the presenters, Ms. Olena, Khotenko, Head of the Board, NGO Institute of Tax Reforms, Mr. Andrii, Kulykov, Head of the Board, NGO Hromadske, who are our partners and friends, and Mr. Tsimbal, Executive Partner of DC Consulting. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy to see you. I would like to tell you that in 2016, the NGO Institute of Tax Reforms and Hromadske had held the contest among journalists, and in February this year we had the awarding where we delivered awards, and today all the three partners, Hromadske Radio, Institute of Tax Reforms, and Ukrainian Crisis Media Center decided to have this briefing because in the times of rapid changes in society, it is very important to provide the society with immediate and timely information about the most important events in the country. That's why, on the framework of the contest Media ATC, we should provide journalists with informational, with professional support, and train them, so to say, in journalist investigations. The range of topics for our master classes was not just occasional. We first studied the vision, the needs expressed by journalists. We understood the topic, we tried to understand the topics which were most up to date, which were the most topical. That's why we had chosen conflictology in journalists, procurement in agrarian complex, cooperation with civic activists, cooperation with law enforcement, legislation about access to public information, protection of business reputation, analysis of court activities, specificity of journalist investigations, and fiscal aspects of the media workers. All the participants were selected in automatical regime because master classes, they are free, and that's why the right to be present, to become a trainee of the master classes was received, was gained by the participants in result of the competition. So we had a selection process among bloggers, among journalists, among media workers, and today we will announce the short list of the winners of this contest, and then we will deliver special, very intensive training for them. We plan to have further contests for bloggers and investigative journalists, and deliver trainings providing journalists with necessary tools to make them capable to cover the reforming process very professionally and very timely. So today at 12, we will start this training, and I wish you all the best. I wish you big success in result of this workshop, and I wish you success today. Thank you.
It's a waste of time to look forward to get reforms from the top. That is why we need to start them from the bottom. When I am asked sometimes whether there's freedom of speech in Ukraine and how much, I say as much as each one of us will make, and as much as we manage to unite these collective and individual freedoms of speech. The time is for competent. That's the slogan of the UCMC. And the UCMC also started from the bottom, and in a few years proved that it can not just be sustainable, but it can give life to such united initiatives that Olena presented. And because the freedom of speech depends on how professional the journalists are. And the freedom of speech is not just about journalists, but about other citizens in the education and advanced education and advanced qualification is what we need. But, in fact, try and check my words in practice. Now, Mr. Zimbal. I'm happy to welcome all the journalists. We've known each other. We've met at the Media ATC Prize Awards. Andrii is correct when he said that the rights, whether we have rights or not, it depends on whether we can use them. In fact, it's a pleasure that the current situation allows every one of us to use all the instruments to cover the events which hide behind the events of just regular times. As a professional lawyer and also as an investigator, I will be happy to share with you the methods of journalist investigations. I will tell you what modern forms and methods of getting information exist, because information is the main weapon of journalists. We will tell what are the sources of getting information. We'll tell about what mechanisms can be used to then make use of the information, and will provide practical methodology so that you understand how journalist investigations can be transformed into some specific things so that everything is really implemented. Thank you, Yuri, for expressing your desire to that you explained it all.
Alina Kazulina, a lawyer who is member of the team of lecturers. I'm Alisa Kazulina. Today I will take part in the master class announced by previous speakers. The topic which I'm going to cover, this will be the defense of journalists in course of court procedures and representation of journalists in supervisory and oversight bodies. During the last years, our state had made a big step forward in direction of the protection of journalists' rights. Thus, in the constitution of Ukraine, the rights of the journalists were reconfirmed. Then the criminal responsibility for violation of the journalists' rights was established. But nevertheless, our international partners and democratic organizations continue to state that we need further real protection of the journalists' rights. Only under this condition we will be able to say that the democracy in Ukraine is fulfilled. I will describe what are the ways to protect journalists from law enforcement agencies and oversight bodies. So I invite all the masterclass participants to the microphone to allow the audience to ask you questions. Olena, my first question is to you. How many participants do you plan to have in the master class, and how many lectors do you expect? We will have between 35-40 participants. We have around 35 people registered for all the master classes for the whole set. There will be a series of 5 master classes. Do you have participants from all around Ukraine? Yes, from all around Ukraine. Maybe my next question is a bit incorrect, but can you distinguish between the regions? Which region seems to be more professional in terms of journalist professionalism? I cannot say in this aspect, but there were some regions which more proactively participated in our contest, and those which less actively participated. Vinnytsia and Rivne regions participated more actively, while Kyiv participated less actively. I would like to mention that one of the areas that is radio journalists working for the radio was very weakly represented among our contestants, and I encourage radio journalists, or at least TV journalists with radio background, to participate more in our contest and to become more engaged in the work on radio. Olena, maybe today it's a good time to discuss your plans for the future. As of today, based on our study of needs, we had established several specific topics. For the future master classes, we will see whether people will express any need and present any new topics which they would like to cover. As of today, we have covered all the topics expressed as the needs. How did you select your trainers? The first criteria for selection was the area, or the area of responsibility, area of expertise of which trainer. Thus, we engage trainers for small and medium-sized business, lawyers, experts. Among our partners, there are very reputable law firms, experts in economics, and professional experts in journalism. For example, Boris Kushniruk, who is not here today, he volunteered to discuss with journalists the variety of aspects related to taxes, because he believes the topic is not covered properly in our mass media. 30 seconds of final wish.
When I was making the presentation, I said that I welcome the initiative that comes from the bottom, and I'm sure that every one of us can do what we can during such investigations. The modern world gives you the chance to take all the information, to make it public, to analyze it correctly, to make conclusions, and to tell the public what you want to tell. So I invite you all to such activity. I believe that it's not just professional journalists, but any activists, any person who cares should and can do investigations. On myself, I would like to add that I'm sure that every person besides the journalist, the activist, besides knowing about the rights, should know how to use them, how to enjoy them. And that is why myself and my colleagues will try to help journalists to understand how you can protect your rights. Good afternoon, I'm Taras Tkachuk. I'm a senior expert of the analytical center Dixie Group, and we've been working in energy sector and investigating the crimes in energy sector, and that's where we get the biggest effect in this sector. And there are many cases like Anishenko and gas condensate, and without high-quality journalist investigations, the reforms which were to move forward faster, they would have been impossible now. And it is important for us that the journalists have knowledge, have capacity and skills for quality journalist investigations, which could then be reflected in investigations of law enforcement bodies and in eliminating the schemes which kill our energy sector. So let's meet at master classes. We are against populism, but to check whether this is not a populist statement, you can do that only in practice, so come and participate. On what are the reforms taking place in Ukraine, our future depends, and so that we are not ashamed in what will be happening in a year, 2 years, or 10 years. We shouldn't be sitting aside. We should influence these events, and if there is a chance, we should be participants of this process, so that neither we nor our children are ashamed for that. Thank you. I wish you fruitful work and high-quality result. Thank you.